Welcome to the Sponsored Rider Club podcast, your guide to motorsports sponsorship. Here's your host, Josh Weesey.
Welcome to the Sponsored Rider Club podcast, which is powered by 4 Wheel Parts. Today we're joined by Kevin Spangler, and this is a pretty neat episode because Kevin has been a long-time listener of the show, and we talk quite a bit about, different things, little bits of advice here and there. He's actually helped me a lot with little issues that I've run into in my show where he's pointed out, mistakes that I've made or upload issues, tons of cool stuff. So we've kind of built a relationship as a result. He works with Bold Racing as well. So it's really cool to have him come on the show. We're going to talk about some smaller scale sponsorship challenges and some of the things that he's done in his program as a result of listening to the show to overall improve his sponsorship program. That's what we're here for. We want to make sure that you have the advice, the tips, the tricks you need to improve your sponsorship program, whether it's riding, racing, jeeping, it doesn't matter. It's all here. Before we get into the show, though, in the interview with Kevin, I have a few things I want to cover with you. First is 4 Wheel Parts. They are running some pretty awesome deals right now. I highly encourage you to head over to 4wheelparts.com and at least watch the scrolls that come through on that first landing page because they've got tons of good deals. I'm just going to talk through a few of them here. They're running a Get Dialed for Summer sale, essentially. Lots of cool stuff. Lots of deals on tires, too, right now. So one of them is the Mickey Thompson tires, so you can get $200 off essentially right now. That's pretty good. There's a bunch of other wheel and tire packages too that you can get up to $500 off on. Same with suspension systems, $500 off select suspension systems, 20% off Smittybilt products. They have an overstock sale, 25% off a bunch of stuff there. And the big thing here too is if you're not capable or you don't have the time to install some of these things, they actually have 93 locations that can help you install this stuff, which is pretty cool. And if you add all the stuff to your cart and you're like, holy cow, it's a lot of money, which it usually is with the stuff that we're doing here, you can apply for 6 months interest-free financing with the Synchrony Car Care Card. So you can call them at 1-800-284-9840, or you can head over to 4wheelparts.com and find out more. Or if you got questions for me, let me know. I'm actually somewhat well-versed in this sort of thing, so if you do have questions about 4-wheel parts or any of that stuff in general, feel free to reach out. All right, this show here is also brought to you by several other awesome companies. One is AMSOIL. They provide amazing lubrication products, and they're a company that runs on freedom. You can find out more at amsoil.com/rider. SolderWeld, they produce game-changing metal bonding technology, and they're ready to rescue your race. TopThePodium.com, they're experts in motorsports, sponsorship, and website creation. Bold Racing, they're a family race team and GSP XTV axle specialist. And then Crash Act Industries, they provide human protection and extreme racing products. I also want to shout out some of our other partners, including MBRP, HMK USA, Studboy Traction, GSP XTV, Diode Dynamics, and High Octane Coffee. Now it's actually time for our High Octane Coffee marketing tune-up. This segment features Joey Sylvester of High Octane Coffee, and he gives a little bit of sponsorship advice. We do one for every show. He can be reached at Joey Sylvester 8, or you can find out more at High Octane Coffee. All right, that's it. We are going to get into the show.
What's up, guys? Joe Sylvester here with your High Octane Coffee marketing tune-up of the day. Today I want to talk about sponsor attraction. Sponsor attraction, to me, is a much better tactic than quote-unquote sponsor hunting. You want to build your brand. You want to establish yourself in the racing community and in the marketing realm of things. As a respected individual, as a professional, you don't want to just keep knocking on doors and hoping somebody answers. You want the sponsors to come to you. That is the most ideal situation for you to be in, and it's the most ideal situation for them. Believe it or not, companies do have, people that work for them, or even owners of companies. They take notice on social media. They see what's going on, and they see the brands. They see the people that stand out. Make yourself stand out from the rest. Be very active on social media. Be very active with your press releases. Try to grow your email database. And like I said, build your brand. Make your brand something that a company would be proud to be associated with. And like I said, when they come to you, it's a much better feeling than sitting there all night long sending out 100 emails. I know this from experience, trust me.
Today I'm joined by our featured guest, Kevin Spangler. So Kevin, go ahead and take a minute right now and tell us a little bit about you.
Thanks, Josh, for having me on. My name is Kevin Spangler, as Josh said. 35 years old, live in Illinois, currently been racing cross-country side-by-side racing, except for the last couple of years, on and off, since 2009, and currently race side-by-sides and run a small fabrication shop on the side.
And that's Spang's Fab, right?
Yeah, that's a Spang's Fab. So we own and operate, been doing that since 2010.
Nice. You know, I got to share a funny little story, but it is very relevant to the whole sponsorship world. So if people don't know this about me, I guess I've learned enough about sponsorship where I think I know what things to look out for. So, for example, you, Spang's Fab fabrication shop, not too unsimilar to Crash Addict Industries, who's been a sponsor of this show for a long time, and Travis Pointer's been on here a long time. But when we were originally talking about you coming on the show, I was like, hey, is that a problem with Crash Addict Industries? And you messaged Travis, and he's like, no, that's cool. And then I messaged Travis, he's like, no, that's cool. And it's just kind of, so he's like, yeah, that's fine, whatever, no big deal. But I think that's kind of cool. One, it's cool from the sponsorship world, the motorsports world, that everybody's just cool with one another. But two, just the fact that we both were thinking about it and let's check in on it beforehand. So I recommend anybody, that's just a tiny little tidbit of advice if you're engaging with potentially competitive people one way, shape, or form. Just check. Maybe it's okay. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's okay though. But hey, enough about me and enough about that. Let's get into your background. That's what I want to use Heat 2-4 is to really dig in. I want to know your story, all the cool stuff that you've done to get into the motorsports world, and what you're fired up about right now. So where do you want to start at?
I didn't really get into motorsports until I was in my mid-20s. I think I was 25 at the time when I did my first motorized sport in a UTV. I grew up in Wasilla, Alaska, where I was born and raised up there. And then we didn't really get into snow machining is what we call it up there. You guys call it riding your sled or snowmobiles. But all our friends had them and stuff, and then we were usually the guinea pigs on the back of the sleds or something, or tie a rope to the back and ride our snowboards and stuff on the trails, and did a lot of snowboarding and kind of big mountain stuff compared to anything around here, up in Hatcher's Pass and stuff. And then joined the Army in 2003, went in with a tank crewman on an Abrams tank, and then did one deployment in Iraq where ended up getting blown up by an RPG, and then got medically discharged. And then 2007 is when I got out, and then was watching an episode of Extreme 4x4, I think it was 2007. They had a segment on UTV racing, and they had stuff out there, short course on more of a motocross track and stuff, 'cause I don't think there's any real dedicated tracks yet for side-by-side racing and stuff. But they did that segment on there. I was like, I got to get one of those. Right. And then a couple of years later, about 2009, I got my first side-by-side, went out and bought a brand new Kawasaki Terex with the whole intention to race it. And then the very next weekend, went out to my first race. I think there was 3 side-by-sides showed up to it, myself and 2 others. And it was a smaller, the American Off-Road Association, I think it was. Okay. Do like a beginner level, short course stuff. And went out and we did 3 heat races and a main, and I ended up winning the whole thing at the end for the side-by-side class. Nice. And after that, I was hooked. So,
it's there's something to when you're doing a race or something for the first time and you win or you're kind of good at it. You're like, maybe I should do a little bit more of this, you know?
Yeah, then the mayhem begins. Like, what else could I do?
Yeah, exactly.
But,
you know, it's funny. I just did a autocross race on Friday. So today's June 24th. I'm actually recording this right before I'm going to release this right away. So this is still pretty relevant. But yeah, I did my first autocross race and I won my class and I was in too high of a class. And then compared to everybody else, I did really good. At least, I mean, I felt like I did pretty good. And I was like, man. So not the next day, because I just used I showed you, right? I showed you a picture of my just like regular old stock Ford Focus, not the cool one like the ST, the SE. And I was like looking up all sorts. I was like, what's the best autocross car to buy? Like I'm like, what can I sell? What can I trade up to get one of these things and like can fully start racing? But okay, either way, back to you.
Well, if you go to the if you go with the RS, buy a new RS, Ford will let you do their Focus rally school for a week.
Oh,
you buy a new Ford RS, I think it is.
You get if you buy one? If you buy an RS, you get to go to their
you buy
school?
one.
What?
Yeah,
That's
they have
cool.
like a driving school for a week, I think it is. I don't know all the ins and outs of it, but I'm assuming you got to pay for your own hotel and airfare. But
right.
You're supposed to be able to go to the driving school for a week if you buy one of the new RSs, I think it is.
Wow, that's awesome.
So,
yeah, I was looking up for some reason I got it in my head. I was like, I want an Audi TT. I've just always thought those are super cool cars, and you can get like early 2000s, mid 2000s versions of them for a relatively affordable price now, and they come, especially if you get there's a 4-cylinder with 225 horsepower and all-wheel drive. Like, man, you could really wheel that thing. But I knew nothing about Audi TTs until this weekend, and now I'm a pseudo expert. Either way, back to your story.
In 2009, running the short course stuff there, ended up winning the whole series for the side-by-sides for the UTV class. And then the following year, or kind of in between seasons, I was like, oh, we got to they're doing all the Monster Jam stuff, and like we're watching it for the guys out west and stuff. And I was like, how do we do that? So I just get on the Monster Jam website and just finding more info, finding emails and stuff. And then finally I got a hold of somebody who does all like the halftime show things in between all the trucks and whatnot. And I was like, how do we get a side-by-side group there to go out there and do like the halftime show stuff? They're like, oh yeah, we can email back and forth. They're like, oh yeah, we can do that. We need at least 10 to show up. And I was like, oh, that shouldn't be a problem. And then I guess at the same time, Kyle Knopf, who runs the Badlands Off-Road Park in Indiana, he was getting a group together also by talking to somebody else from Monster Jam. So we ended up having like 30 people show up to the Indianapolis monster truck show.
Oh no, that's pretty funny.
Which was insane.
Yeah.
Then he was starting up a cross country. I called it the mini Baja just because they had like Jeeps out there, 2-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive trucks side by side, and then the bigger Ultra 4 trucks, buggies, all out there, all in the course at the same time for roughly 2 hours. Started at dawn and went into the night, so you had to have lights and everything. And side by sides were the fastest thing on there, followed closely by the Ultra 4 trucks at the time. So it was pretty cool. After a couple laps, you get in with all the Jeeps and stuff and kind of weave in and out of them and whatnot. And that's pretty good series. Kind of wish they'll bring that back. I think he's been doing a couple races here and there, but not a whole series.
Well, let me ask you a follow-up question there, too, going back to the Monster Jam deal. You said you just, somehow got a hold of somebody for Monster Jam. How'd you get to that point? Like, how'd you even find that person?
I think I just kind of scoured their website for like any email of I don't remember the exact person or title that I found, but they just went through like their email list on their website, and then was like, oh, this sounds like somebody, like a director of marketing, or I forgot what it was exactly, but I just kind of went through their website, and then I don't remember if I got forwarded to somebody else or I got the person right off of the website, but
awesome.
Somehow I got it there, I guess. And
yeah, I like to ask those questions on here because I think it's tough, honestly, to remember, how connections are made, and even tougher to actually make new connections and, figure out how it's going to like get you somewhere, right? Or help get somebody else somewhere. So I like to ask those questions. It'll, try to get people to force themselves to think like, what did I do? How did I get there? When did that happen? And then you start thinking of like, okay, what if I didn't do this little thing? Would I have gotten to this point? You and I were talking ahead of time in the pre-interview just about some of the things that we were going to talk about during the show and making sure we were aligned on that stuff. And one of the things we brought up is how like you're on the show. You've been listening to the show for quite a while now. You are on like all the lives. And then one day you were like, hey, I'm driving through, I'm in Kalamazoo area, if people don't know, Southwest Michigan. You already said you're in Illinois. Like, hey, I'm driving through, got to deliver some cages. Like, you want to meet up somewhere? I was like, yeah, like, let's do that. Let's grab lunch somewhere. And, and anybody else listening too, as long as you're not a creeper, hit me up, and who knows, maybe I'll be able to swing by and have lunch or something. But yeah, it was that was cool. We had a good time talking there, and then I think someone else had recommended on the Sponsored Rider Club page. No, sorry, it was the group. Someone was like, hey, we should do a show about like grassroots, smaller platforms, early sponsorship stuff. How the show's helped, and then shortly after that, you and I were just messaging back and forth. You're like, well, what do you think about me coming on the show? I could talk through some of that stuff, and here we are. Like, it's, I don't know. It's just, It's pretty interesting thinking about how that stuff kind of plays out. Whew, I've interrupted your story, 3 times now?
Yeah,
I don't know. Keep going.
Yeah, it'll probably be more.
it'll keep going. I will interrupt more.
After the 2010 season, I thought I was going to go all out, Mr. Two Chassis Desert Racer looking side by side. So I took mine, put it in the shop, and I just started setting it up. I was like, I'm going to make a tube chassis out of this. To go put long travel on here and everything, because one of the guys out there, he bought one of the Dragonfire Desert Race Ready, I think they were calling it the Nisi or something like that, buggy and stuff. He bought one of those, and I was like, I could do that. And then it sat like that for another 4 years, halfway completed. But I ended up doing some of the newer UTV rally raid races and stuff with Racer Tech at the time, jumping in with them and stuff, and they would go down there, that they were sponsoring the series down there. And back in 2009, when I was finding a place to race, I guess the owner of Racer Tech at the time, Andy Prinz, they were trying to find a series also, and that's kind of where we linked up and stuff, and then kind of became friends ever since. And then I jumped in with his guys and stuff and go racing or go to different events and stuff with them. And so I kind of did that off and on for a couple of years until just kind of got back into my own side-by-side when 2016, I think. Got the new RZR Turbo after it came out. Started racing some more of the local cross-country stuff. That had a newer series for Illinois-based, the Midwest Side-by-Side series, and did that. Ended up getting third overall for the what they're calling the pro class for that, and then moved on to doing IXCR in their pro class for that last year. and then ended up getting 9th overall for the pro class. And then this year, kind of taking off a little bit, and then trying to do a couple other different things, not really sticking to a series.
Mm-hmm.
So trying to do some fillers, I guess, and then trying to do some different stuff. So
nice. Very nice. It's fun going back and just thinking about all the cool stuff you did. Well, what about today, though? I mean, what are you pumped up about now? What are you excited about now? What are you fired up about now?
Pretty much, I'll be working on my turbo. Pretty much, just doing a whole other build on that and stuff, and just kind of building it up again and get it ready for next year. And a couple of these races this year, I'll be going back to the Heartland Challenge in August. Luckily, there's possibility I'll be going to the Vegas to Reno stuff and helping out bull racing there. I'm still not 100% confirmed on everything yet for that from my side. And then luckily they changed the Heartland Challenge date for this year because they usually overlap each other. And that's kind of the big race for the Midwest.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a big 4-hour race on a Friday night. Starts in the light, ends in the dark and stuff. And then like just about everybody shows up to that around that's in the Midwest that does cross country racing. So
yeah,
that'll be probably the next big thing for me outside of if I get to go to Vegas to Reno to go help pit support and stuff. So.
Well, I sent you my itinerary, so I know I'm going to be there now. I already paid for the tickets. Like, well, I'll be there. And then let's see. I'm gonna be in Vegas there a little bit early, so I'll be there for that day, strolling and roaming and all sorts of stuff. So if anybody's out in Vegas, with the Wednesday before Vegas to Reno, and again, if you're not a creeper, hit me up because I don't have plans yet for that Wednesday. Good stuff. Well, hey, I got something really critical to go over with you here. This is not on the outline, but it's super critical. So you say two things different from me, okay? Two critical words that I use quite a bit, and you say them different from me. And we just got to explore this a little bit. So, snow machine, right? I say snowmobile or sled.
Yep.
Did in Alaska, did they use the term sled or snowmobile, or was it just purely snow machine?
I know in the group that I grew up with, it was purely snow machine.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, like, we're so used to it, growing up and stuff, like, where I was like, oh yeah, let's go snow machining, and then everyone knows what you're talking about. I come down here and I out talking to people at work and stuff. I'm like, oh yeah, we used to go snow machining all the time. They're like, look at me all crazy, and then
what's that?
They're like, so you ride like a snow making machine or something? And I'm like, no, a snow machine. Have you ever heard of a snow machine? And then they still give me this crazy look, and I'm like, all right, a snowmobile. They're like, oh, okay, yeah, we got it.
This is a weird thing for me to admit, but I don't like the word snowmobile. I think snow machine is everybody.
Oh yeah,
all the Michiganders out there are like, going to turn off my show and like delete all the episodes they've downloaded now. But I don't like snowmobile. Like, I don't know. It just doesn't flow right. I like sled, but then people get confused.
It's like you gotta think about it.
Yeah, even I like snow machine better, but I just need something like simpler. Like boom, like a boot, like sled. But then sometimes I say, yeah, I take my sled out, and then people who are not familiar with like motorsports are like, oh, that's cool. So what, are you going to a hill somewhere? Like, yeah, man, I'm gonna climb up the hill. They're like, you're gonna climb up, so you can sled down. I was like, well, I'm gonna sled down it like really fast. Oh yeah, you're gonna like ride your sled? What kind of sled is it? I was like, it's a Arctic Cat Turbo. They're like, a what? I thought you were just talking about one of those saucer sleds. Like, no. It's like a really cool thing. Yeah. So, okay, that was the first thing.
No, it costs about $100,000 more.
Exactly. It's infinite budget to operate a snow machine. The next thing is, and this is, I don't think this is as much like location specific, but some people say Razor and some say RZR. So you say RZR, I say Razor. What's up with that?
I say RZR. I think it's just more personal opinion. Like I don't know. I've always just RZR. It's an RZR. Then everyone's like, oh, it's a Razor. I'm like, no, that sounds bad. I'm like, no, it's a Razor or it's RZR.
I need to ask Evan Schendel or Shelby Anderson what the official marketing term is. Like, I think that they say Razor, but I don't know. I feel like I've heard them on their commercials. Yeah, they say RZR. Like older commercials?
I've heard both. So maybe it's one of those marketing gimmicks that they throw both of them in there so everyone talks about it.
Yeah, because I've definitely, like, especially the earlier RZRs. Wow, it just takes a long time to say, and like it's a lot to think about. But the older RZR commercials, like when it was the 800s, were the big bad dude. I think they said, you got the new 800 RZR, and that's how they did it. And now I don't know what. I guess I don't even know what they say. They probably don't say it at all anymore. They just show pictures of it, and people are like, oh, drooling and stuff.
So I think when it first came out, I think it was when the first year came out, I think it was a Ranger RZR.
It was. You're right.
I'm not positive on that.
No, you're right. Because I remember it had a different word first and then RZR. And yeah, you're right. It was Polaris Ranger RZR. Weird. Oh, man. Those are cool, though, when they first came out. And then now they're amazing. I don't have one anymore, though.
Yeah.
All I've got is an old beat-up Rubicon. Well, hey, we gotta get back to you. I keep stealing your thunder here. Let's talk about some of your current sponsorship partners. I mean, who are you working with these days?
Some of the partners I still work with is Bold Racing.
Mm-hmm.
But we've been doing stuff with them for the past 2 years with when they were doing shocks originally, and then now with the GSD axles.
Mm-hmm.
And been talking with Jimmy Moore for a while on stuff on there, back and forth and stuff. And that's kind of, since I'm going to Vegas, or if I go to Vegas Arena, that's who I'll be helping out and stuff, and just kind of all that.
When you go.
And then
when.
Competition.
Not if.
Yeah. And then competition LED for our lights with Mark Chiite.
Mm-hmm.
He's been supplying us lights now for 2 years. We've been working with him. And then we, last year, myself, and then Mike Pasquarelli at the Desert Vets.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're kind of all got in about the same time, helping them out. And he had a new lens cover for like an amber, and then he had to take them out and stuff, and then we both kind of gave him the same feedback on it, to where we changed that light, or how he puts out his amber light and stuff, because it was draining so much, and so I helped out a lot.
Nice. That's good stuff right there. That's called R&D. I think I did a show on that, just about that once, but for people who don't know this, that is one of the big benefits that you can give. I mean, we talk about ROI a lot, return on investment, but feedback on product design is super important as well.
Yeah, I think the covers he was using, I think it was reducing the light output by like 60% or something that, which is terrible when you need light for racing. And then I don't remember the numbers exactly. And so then he went back to the drawing board, and then a very minimum now for his new, I think he calls it Desert Vision or something like that, or it's more of a yellow, and I think it only really blocks about 10% of it or so.
Nice. Of
the light output now, instead of what it used to be. So I know Desert Vets have been running it. You see it, they just did a night race in one, and you can see it still lighting up tonight there with the yellow covers on there and stuff. So it definitely helped. And Action Power Sports is our local dealership that I use. Get most of my parts and stuff from them to need anything from OEM parts or some of the aftermarket stuff that they carry. And then Randy, who's the owner there and stuff, we go in there chit chat quite a bit and stuff about racing or just general RZR stuff. And then they've been real supportive on everything I do and stuff, and helping out myself and the local race series and stuff. So, and then kind of a new partner, not technically a sponsor or anything, but CNR Racing in Indianapolis. I got a hold of them after the PRI show last December. I guess what they do, radiator relocation and stuff, and stock radiators and stuff with theirs, and they never did an RZR one before. And like even the engineer David, he had one for a while, and then he switched to Can-Am, and like he just never brought it in for whatever reason, I guess. And so they had all the specs on the flow rate and everything, but they never made a mounting system for it. And so we started talking and stuff. Steve Mueller, who's commented on the live show and stuff, he kind of hooked me up with that, or got me in touch with him. And we talked back and forth some and stuff, and then I ended up taking my RZR over there, and they took it, and they had for a couple of weeks to figure out a mounting system for it and everything, to put the intercooler and radiator and everything in the rear of the bed. And everything works flawless now with no overheating issues or anything.
Perfect. No, that's cool. I'm glad you shared that example too, because there's lots of cool opportunities that people can take part in, especially if you're in a grassroots level, like, find another company, a small company that they're just looking to get their product out there, and you're looking for better performance or whatever else it is. You guys can work on deals like that, and that's all good. And like that's a true partnership there. Awesome. Anything else?
Yeah, we got a GVC Motorsports. We run all their Dirt Commander tires and stuff, and then we're on their like entry level sponsorship program that they have. Yep. And then so we get all our tires discounted from them and stuff, and then that helps out a lot. And then also I use I don't know how many people use Hook It, but I go through Hook It and have a couple of sponsorships through that with GoPro and Spy Optic. Then anytime I'm putting a video up or whatever, it's usually on my GoPro, and I've been using them forever since the Hero 1 came out originally and stuff. And actually, I still have it on the shelf.
Oh, that's cool.
And then Spy Optic, I've been using their goggles and stuff for snowboarding and stuff growing up and everything, and never really used anything else. And then when I got the notification about getting sponsored with Spy Optic or starting out with their program and stuff, I obviously went with them, and still haven't stopped yet. So.
Perfect. I think Spy Optic is pretty active on Hook It. I feel like I've heard that from other people before, where they were able to make that connection with them through that platform.
Yeah, there's a couple different like for goggle sponsors and stuff like that, and then that are on there and stuff. But since I use Spy Optic since I was a kid, basically, with the snowboarding and stuff, that's who I obviously went with, and I ran their product and love the product actually. So.
I'm surprised you used the term snowboard. Like, could you use like I don't know, a snow flat ski, a snow one ski. Ha! There, that's maybe we should start using that term here.
No, that's no, I don't think so. My dad has a term like that when we started snowboarding, and he's like, "What are you doing, ski boarding?" And I was like, No, Dad, it's not skateboarding now. It's definitely snowboarding. We're going to leave it at that.
Perfect. Well, what we're also going to leave is the first part of this podcast and Heat 2, because we're going to stop right now and we're going to take a minute to thank the sponsors for this podcast.
Hey guys, George Hamill here to talk about SolderWeld's new off-road repair kit. If you're a racer of any type or an off-road enthusiast like myself, you're going to want to take a close look at this product that bonds metal on the spot. SolderWeld has combined some of their most elite products into one small kit that fits perfectly under your seat or strapped to a roll cage and allows you to make some insane fixes anywhere you go. How many of us have been in a race or out on the trail and got a rock chip in a radiator or brake line? We have seen a top-tier desert race team at the 2019 Min 400 taken out by a simple rock to the radiator. If they had an off-road repair kit on board, they could have been back up and running in just minutes. The kit includes everything you need to work on dirty aluminum, stainless steel, copper, and many other metals. SolderWeld's cutting-edge technology allows you to make these fixes with extremely low heat and incredibly high tensile strength, leaving you a lasting fix every time. Don't be that guy broke down on the side of the trail. Get your off-road repair kit today, and your friends will thank you.
2 questions I get continuously about this show and about sponsorship is, do I need my own website and do I need a resume? The answer is, in my opinion, yes to both, and that's why we partner with TopThePodium.com. Now, if you want to see an example of what a professional website and what a professional resume looks like, you got to check out TopThePodium.com. They did my website. The Sponsored Rider Club podcast website is sponsoredriderclubpodcast.com. That was created by Jeff Vanistall of TopThePodium.com. I think it's awesome. I get a lot of good feedback about it. And there's a number of other websites out there that Jeff has produced that are just phenomenal. So I think it's important in this world of social media where you have control of your content. That's what a website does. It gives you full control. We don't know what Facebook's going to do sometimes. We don't know what Instagram's going to do. We don't know what Twitter's going to do. So if we don't have that central location to direct people and house our content, there is some risk that we incur. So I strongly recommend getting a website, talking to TopThePodium.com. And then the resume, again, is massive. And if you want to stand out, get it done professionally. And honestly, it is one of the best ways to step up your game and present yourself in the best way possible. Safety is our overriding priority. I hear it all the time, but I have to ask myself, is it though? Is that the first thing we think of? Is that the first thing you think of? Over the past couple of years, we've seen the performance of production UTVs increase, somewhere around 350%. That means these machines give us a lot more opportunity to have fun and win races, but it also, unfortunately, gives us new opportunities to crash. And that's why we have partnered with Crash Addict Industries. The owner, Travis Pointer, became very accustomed to crashing early in his career. He saw it as inevitable, and he set out to make the process safer. With a passion for racing, welding, and engineering, Crash Addict Industries now produces full cage and other protection systems intentionally designed to protect you during an accident on the track. They also offer a line of human protection products through their vendors. Do this for me at this point. If you're racing with a stock cage right now, please go check out CrashAddict.com and at least see what they have to offer. Even if you choose to go with a different company, please make safety your overriding priority. Family race team. Those are the first words that come to mind when I think of Bold Racing. And the next one is actually axles. Bold Racing is a premier distributor of GSP XTV axles. And if that wasn't cool enough, they just came out with an entirely new axle called the Revolution axle. It is a hollow tube axle. It's really cool. If you head over to their website, gspxtv.com, or you can find out more at boldracingltd.com, you can find out how this new axle technology works. So they are saying to view this as a fuse for your drivetrain. So the hollow tube CV axle twist technology actually increases the strength and reliability of the axle, and it also reduces stress on the drivetrain. Plus, honestly, it's super cool looking, and if people know me, they know that I really like cool looking stuff. So they come in this really cool gold color. Check it out. It's absolutely revolutionary. Let's talk about AMSOIL. Maybe you've seen them at Sturgis or the AMSOIL Championship Snowcross Series, maybe your local track. Maybe you heard about them on this show. They are all over the power sports world, and here is why they get it. They're a bunch of gearheads just like you and I. They're riders, they're racers, just like us. They're also chemists and engineers, which means they're good at making synthetic oil. That's what we want them to be good at. Their time at the track and on the streets, it gives them that first-hand knowledge of how tough equipment is on oil. Extreme heat, increased stress, high RPM riding, it all works against you and your ride to basically get you sidelined. But no worry, AMSOIL handcrafts synthetic lubricants that fight wear and resist extreme heat so that you can get the most power and best performance out of whatever it is that you ride. Visit amsoil.com/rider for more details and check out their full line of products for anything that you ride. All right, well, welcome back, everybody. We are now in the main event. That's where we get into some of the details about sponsorship tactics and strategies. Honestly, though, we've already hit on a couple things in the background, so that was good. We already got a few extra little bonus stories. We heard a little bit about Hook It, which is awesome, but we're going to go through maybe a couple more examples if you got any left in you. How did you build a relationship with one of these awesome partners that you mentioned just a minute ago?
There's one that I didn't really mention on there that I think would be a lot better example and stuff, or one of these better examples, is Warrior Built Foundation. They don't necessarily sponsor me, but about the same time I was first listening to your show, I was looking for different ways to like create content or kind of like step up my content game. And then I was also looking for organizations to kind of help out with and stuff around here in the Midwest and for veterans and stuff. And problem is, all these, I could find them, I'd email them or reach out to them, and like nobody would send me a reply message, email, or anything. And I was like, man, these people are this is what they're supposed to be doing all the time. And then I got a hold of the Warrior Built Foundation. And then I was like, oh, man, that's a cool thing. But they're out in California. And I was like, reached out to them, talked to them, kind of just see what they do and stuff, and if they do any like Midwest stuff, and they don't. But we kind of chit-chatted some more and stuff, and I was trying to figure out ways to, when I was snowboarding and stuff, we always had a camera with us. And we'd go hike up, build a jump or something, and take videos and stuff. And they had the Warrior Built photography group on Facebook. And so I was like trying to join that, and then they're like, "Oh, are you a member of our organization?" And then I was like, "No." Then they had me sign up and everything and stuff. So, and then started doing their weekly participation and stuff on our group and stuff, and then kept talking about doing little reach out things with them and stuff. And what they do, they race in the Best in the Desert and the Score Series in I think it's just a motorcycle class, the dirt bikes and stuff. And but they also do a Class 11 bug that they just started last year at the 1000. And I was looking at doing a wrap on my RZR and stuff, and they have a really awesome, one of their big sponsors is through Monster Energy for their partner and stuff, and they have a really awesome background logo stuff. And I was just like, hey, do you mind if I use with your background on my RZR wrap? And they're like, oh yeah, go for it and stuff. They just thought that I was gonna make a little, basically a small sticker or something on my RZR just to show my support. And I wrapped my whole RZR in that, the doors and the roof with that background. And then on the roof, like I used their whole logo, their main logo on the roof and stuff, and then on the side and everything. And they loved it. They were like, "Oh my gosh!" I'm like, we didn't even ask this guy to do this, and he just did it.
Right.
and like we talked quite a bit and stuff, and then like right after I did that, they're like, "Hey, do you want to go race the 500 with us?" And I was like, "Yes, I do." And then, but it was like 2 weeks away. This was last year. It was 2 weeks away. They're like, "Yeah, you could race one of the bikes and stuff, blah blah blah." From like, because they rotate their drivers through their wounded veterans and stuff, and I was like, it's 2 weeks away. I was like, I think I got to update my passport and everything, and I really can't do it right this minute. And then I was like, also, I've never rode a dirt bike. Like, I rode one once, like, for like 5 minutes, and I was like, I don't think the Baja is the place to learn how to ride a bike. so kind of put it off, and then like they kept asking about the 1000, but our youngest son was supposed to be born end of October, and I think the 1000 is usually about mid to beginning of November, and so I was like, well, I really don't want to push this, so kind of waited on that, and then I think we're gonna end up doing some stuff later this year with them.
Nice. I feel like when that was first starting, you reached out to me too for just some guidance. I quick pulled my phone up to go back and see if I could find that conversation. I could not, but I feel like you and I talked about that before you. I don't know. It's vague. It's very vague in my memory here, but
yeah, we talked quite a bit off and on. So there's probably a lot of messages in there.
It's somewhere. Yeah, I went through. I was like, oh my gosh, man. We've talked about a lot of stuff. Actually, I got to the first. I mean, I just quickly scrolled through while you were talking there. It didn't take long, and it scrolled up to the top, like the first message you sent me. It was recommending that like Corey and Jason Weller come on the show. I was like, oh my gosh, like I forgot about that. Even though Corey actually did come on the show, and she was really good. But cool. Well, yeah, that was an awesome story. Anything else? Another story similar to that?
Yeah, most of them. Like I kind of hit on the CNR racing one a little bit already, but like with Bold Racing, after they came on the show, sent Jimmy a message and stuff, and just kind of we chit chatted for a couple of weeks or so or more, and then finally. After kind of building that initial relationship on just general info and stuff, or talk about each other's life and stuff, and he's like, yeah, send me your resume, and then sent him that, and then he's like, yeah, we could do something with this, and then ended up sending in my shocks, and they did a whole service on them, revalved, routined them all and everything, and then we still talk now, even though they don't do shocks, and we chit chat here and there at least once a month or so, just kind of, hey, what's going on? And then kind of kept that relationship going and stuff. And then
yeah, so for people who don't know Jimmy, Jimmy's like a super funny guy too. I mean, he's been on the show. Was it twice he's been on here? I think I've had him on twice. Both times out of that Vegas Reno, we did some interviews, and you get a little bit of his personality in the show, but you know, outside the show, he is hilarious. Like, super nice guy, super helpful, very insightful. You know, but man, he is just funny. Like, he just says some funny stuff. He's a blast to be around. But yeah. Either way, sorry. Go ahead.
I think most all the sponsors that I have are like partners and stuff. They've all been somewhat the same. So we get to know them and stuff, and then build that relationship, and then they end up slowly helping with discounted parts and stuff. For like, I go in there at the shop at Action Power Sports and needing something or whatever, and then if they had to fit in there, sometimes he's like, oh, here, you need a ball joint or something. We got one sitting here. Or you need a belt here. Here's this. And then just talk to most of them almost on a weekly basis and stuff, just to general chit chat, really.
Mm-hmm.
And then probably the biggest relationship was probably back in '09 with Andy Prinz, who's the former owner of Racer Tech, which is now known as RT Pro.
Mm-hmm.
And then back when I was trying to find somewhere to first race a side by side, he was looking for a place to kind of or sponsor and stuff and get his business name out there for Racer Tech. And I didn't know him before the first race. He didn't know me and stuff. And we got there and just started, him and his girlfriend at the time, who's his wife now, they showed up and stuff, and we just chatted in between all the heat races and stuff, and before and after, and kept talking and kept in touch from there and stuff. And he helped me out with some parts and stuff for the Terex early on and stuff. And every race he would show up and I'd show up and stuff, and we'd hang out together and stuff. And then kind of built that trust and stuff, for that relationship, really. And where I was going down with them down to Georgia and stuff, with them racing when the 900 XTs first came out and stuff, or
Mm-hmm.
racing out in the UTV rally raid races and stuff with them. And then he ended up selling the business a couple of years ago, but we still keep in contact and stuff. He has nothing to do with side-by-sides anymore, but after I went up and had lunch with you and dropped off those cages, I went to his place that night, and
nice.
We had dinner and stuff and hung out, and so.
Very good.
But yeah, that's good.
Well, that's good. That's a lot of positive stuff about sponsorship stuff. Have you had any things that didn't go as planned? Like, you got an example to talk about there?
Not really. Like, after the sponsorship stuff, I know a lot of it's more of in the sponsorship process.
Yeah.
Like, I'll build my relationship with somebody like I normally do and everything, and they're like, oh, like you might work on it for a couple days, or sometimes it's over like 6 months or more, and then you're like going back and forth, and they're like, oh yeah, send us your resume and stuff, and then you send it to them, and then like you never hear anything from them again.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, did I ask for too much in this, or does something not line up? What's wrong?
Yeah.
I was like, we can still talk. I mean,
right.
If it's not the right time, it's not the right time. So I was like, I'm down to chat whenever and stuff. But yeah, usually stuff like that where you think you're going in the right direction with everything, and then all of a sudden nothing on the other end, and you're like, all right.
Right. It's kind of funny. I don't do, I guess, like a ton of sponsorship pitches for the show necessarily. I mean, I've had a great, I'd say a pretty fair number of partners that I've worked with for the show, but I don't do that many pitches necessarily. But I do pitch all of the time to try to get people on the show as guests. Like, I'm just constantly pitching it to people. And it's so funny. It's almost like the same relationship there, because I'll get people, I'll message them somewhere. I use email, LinkedIn, direct messages, phone calls, whatever I can get. And the best ones is if it's on like a direct message on Instagram or something, because you can see if they've seen it. And I'll be like, hey, gosh, something in your profile stood out to me. I think you'd be a great guest in the show, blah, blah, blah. I've been following you, whatever it is. And then they're like, almost immediately, yeah, wow, that'd be the most amazing experience ever of my life. I would love to do it. When can we do it? Let's make it happen. And I'm like, oh yeah, here's my scheduling tool, right? You have used the scheduling tool. Everybody who comes on the show has. Hey, just snag a time, or if that doesn't work, let me know. And then it's like crickets. Like, wow, you were just the most excited person ever about coming on the show, and then now it's time to like make it happen, and you no longer exist on this planet. I can tell you're reading the message, right? Like, but for some reason you don't want to come on anymore. Yeah. It's so strange. I mean, I literally, I don't know exactly what my numbers are, but I bet you it's like 100 to 1. If I reach out to 100 people, like 1 will actually commit to the end. I'll get like 100 people, I'll reach out to them, and then maybe 50 of them are like, woohoo! You know, like, this is the best experience ever. And then there's like 2 of them that sign up, and then of the 2 that sign up, one of them never actually shows up. They have to reschedule and never actually does reschedule and blah, blah, blah. So it's
yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't think they had know that much about the sponsorship side of it or something on their
Right.
story. Like, I don't think I'm the smartest guy on the sponsorship stuff at all, but come on, let people know what I know, I guess. And then some people might benefit from it. Some people are probably like, oh, this guy's a rookie, and whatever.
I do think that the topic is intimidating sometimes for people. Like, they sign up and they're like, oh my gosh, now I actually have to go talk about it. But yeah, honestly, like you just said, or plenty of other guests have been on the show. I mean, some people are rookies, some people are veterans, some people are in between, some people, I've had people that actually have come on the show that they don't really even like sponsorship. They know it's something they have to do, right? And they want to help people. Yeah, it's all gambits there. But it's just funny thinking about, like, when it's time to commit, it's a little bit hard for people to commit. And I get it. People are busy, right? But, whether it's sponsorship dollars or their time on somebody's podcast, like, when it's time to actually, like, let's pull the trigger and commit, that's when you start losing people.
Yeah.
Well, I want to actually hop into the lightning round here and ask you a couple of quick questions. The first one is one of my favorite questions on the show. If you could sponsor anyone in the world, who would you choose and why?
I kind of have 2 answers for this. For the smaller guys and stuff, I think someone like Mike Pasquarelli with Desert Vets, and then George Hamill. I think both of them have, they got it going on and stuff. Like Mike with his program with the Desert Vets and stuff, and just getting veterans out there racing, and even people out there to help volunteer and stuff that aren't veterans and stuff, and just the way he runs his program and stuff, that's awesome. Like, and then George Hamill with, like, his never quit attitude. And like, if anyone's heard George's story, and then, like, what happened earlier this year and stuff,
right.
And then he's every day he's still pushing and stuff, and I'm just like, how can I be that good?
Oh yeah.
How can I keep on doing that drive? And like, I was blown up pretty severely in Iraq and stuff, and then but I was like, I don't think it's anything worth what, like, George has gone through and stuff, and then and every day he gets up with a positive attitude and stuff and keeps going, and so I know, yeah, I've reached out to him a couple times and stuff just on the sponsorship stuff, and he was at a race actually for the short course stuff, and he's sitting there talking to me. He's like, oh, hey, I got to go for a minute, and I got to go run a practice laps or something. And then I was like, oh, you're at a race right now? I was like, you can get back to me later.
Right.
Like, you don't have to be messaging me right now, but like, he took the time to do it and stuff. And then,
so yeah, speaking of Mike and George both, so Mike's actually been on a show. He was on the first Vegas Reno show, because I've actually met Mike in person twice now, both times at Vegas Reno. But yeah, he was on the first one. I just don't remember what number it is, because who knows anymore with these numbers that are out there. Probably around the 50s, something like that. But either way, he was on the show, and he's actually done a commercial for the show as well. Or did he do 2 of them? But no, he did a commercial for SolderWeld for me, which is great. And then George Hamill has been on the show twice, and he's done, I think, 2 different commercials. He did an Armor Coat commercial, and then he might have done Armor Coat and Never Lift Racing. Either way, he did Armor Coat and then another SolderWeld too. And his SolderWeld commercial is still playing. It'll be playing on this show as a commercial. So yeah, they're both very, very helpful. They do a lot of good things for the off-road community too.
Then, for my answer for if money wasn't an option and stuff, and I'd say they're like Tanner Faust, Rob McCatherine, BJ Baldwin, those guys. They're just always killing it on the track and stuff, and then with like their social media game and meeting fans and stuff and talking with people and stuff.
Perfect. If you could use only one social media platform, which would you choose and why?
Have to say right now it would be Instagram, and then I've been using YouTube a little bit more, doing some videos on there, like how to use some blogs and stuff. And I've started to like that a little bit, but I'd say Instagram would still outweigh that by a lot. And then Facebook, I do is more for like the business stuff and whatnot. And you can easily get in the groups and stuff and chat with your customers and stuff. But Instagram definitely weighs out just because you can just look at the pictures and go on, and there's no drama or anything usually on there. So.
And then on your YouTube, you've made at least one video that you sent me. It was about you using a snow one-ski out in Alaska, I believe, if I remember correctly. Anyway, that's good stuff.
Yeah, that was my first vlog style stuff.
Yeah. No, that's good. So my last question here in the lightning round: who has been your biggest supporter?
Just about everybody. I have to say my wife. She doesn't go to the races and stuff because we got 4 kids at home and stuff. But she allows me to, or she puts up with my late nights and everything and stuff, and then out in the shop working on my own stuff or other people's stuff or whatever, and running out the door last minute or something. Oh, I need to go finish this real quick, and then and she stays at home with the kids and stuff, and then.
Well, it is time to wrap things up, and I'm gonna start the end with this note here. You know, what's one thing that we need to take away? If listeners forget everything else from the show, what's the one takeaway at them?
Relationships with everyone you meet and stuff. It could be on a positive, or it could even be on a negative or something. But building relationships with somebody and getting to know them, and then that's probably the biggest thing of all.
What's the best way for people listening to connect with you?
If you get me on either my business pages with Spangs Fab on Facebook or Instagram, or Kevin Spangler Racing on Facebook for my racing stuff, and haven't really done a whole lot with that lately. And then Kevin_Spangler 26 on Instagram, and if you like YouTube, it's Spangs World on YouTube. And then there's a couple of racing videos on there, some snowboarding stuff or one skiing, like Josh was saying.
Perfect. Well, hey, I really appreciate you chatting tonight, and for flexibility in scheduling. I know you and I made some tweaks, so I appreciate that. But I'm going to leave you with this. Have fun and ride safe.
All right, thanks.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Sponsored Rider Club podcast, which is powered by 4 Wheel Parts. Be sure to subscribe so that you don't miss any of our upcoming shows. Follow us on social media as well. That's where we share a lot of information and upcoming guests for the show. Pay specific attention to our Facebook page. That's where we do our live shows 2 each month. To get some insider access and upcoming guests, you can also check out the Sponsored Rider Club on Facebook. That also offers a forum for best practices sharing, so you can ask questions and get answers from the motorsports community. A special thanks goes out to our sponsors, 4 Wheel Parts, AMSOIL, SolderWeld, Bold Racing, TopThePodium.com, and Crash Addict Industries. I also want to shout out some of our other partners, GSP XTV, MBRP, HMK USA, Studboy Traction, Diode Dynamics, and High Octane Coffee. I look forward to serving you again next week. Until then, have fun and ride safe.